Hey, it's Clutch at Ojai. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to have our second episode of the Travel Teleporter series tonight. And the second episode is on Vietnam and Cambodia. I decided to do this in two parts because as I was making the video, I realized that it was going to be like an hour long. And that's just too long. I'm going to try to keep these under 30 minutes. So it's going to be in two parts. Vietnam first part, Cambodia second. It probably will happen with the same with Rwanda and Tanzania because that's just too ambitious. Plenty of content. We got content. So Vietnam was an interesting place. As you know, it's communist, and we spent the early part of the 70s in a war there. Just a little history. Vietnam's been at war probably their entire history. Before us, it was the French, and before that, I think it was the British or the Dutch, and before that, it was the Chinese, and before that, it was Siam, which is Thailand. So, you know, they know war, and I think all they really want to do is enjoy life and have some peace. You know? So Vietnam is a long country, and it's got very diverse weather. So even if you're going in a time of year that you think is great for the beach, it still could be cold up north, or it could be very different weather from Hanoi, which is way in the north, and Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, which is in the south. There's great beaches as well in the center, China Beach, the great Amman, Six Senses. However, I didn't really go to the beach. It wasn't the best time of year. I did go to the Four Seasons Hoi An, which we do talk about in this video. So Hanoi itself is, not as vibrant as Ho Chi Minh, but still very vibrant. The people are very young and active. They mainly, come out at night. Everyone's working during the day. You can tell the difference between Hanoi and Saigon because one was North Vietnam till recently and under communist influence, and the South was under capitalist influence. So there aren't as many stores or as much to buy or to do, or art galleries in the North because it's just kind of happening. But there still is temples and kind of monuments and government buildings and some art galleries to see. So I did as much as I could in that respect. But the main sites during the first day I'd suggest is maybe just go see like the grave of Ho Chi Minh, or the tomb of Ho Chi Minh rather, some other government buildings that are interesting. And some galleries. There's this kind of historical, history museum. I guess it's a natural history museum that kind of teaches you about their past. Another big site in Hanoi is the Hanoi Hilton, where Senator McCain was imprisoned. He was shot down as a fighter pilot, as you know. It's interesting to read the history because they tell the history completely opposite than we do. And when I look at both sides, I tend to think that their version is a little bit more true. Is because we really did go invade them for no good reason, really. And in fact, it was a false flag. If you read about it, about the Bay of Tonkin, I believe, we publicized that our ship got shot at or sunk, and it never really happened, and that was our excuse to go there. Sound similar? Anyway, but the best part about it are the people. In any of these places that you go to, maybe they hate America sometimes, but they don't hate Americans. And I feel very safe in these communist type countries because there are huge penalties for crime. They don't tolerate, it's kind of topical, they don't tolerate anything what we would tolerate. They're probably laughing at us right now, that we tolerate as much as we do. And another reason why, everyone should feel lucky that they live in America. So the nightlife is when everybody comes out, all the kids, it's super vibrant, night markets, it's really fun. In the center of town, there's this bridge that's famous, you get a few pictures, and the famous water puppet show. It's a debate whether or not it's worthwhile to go see. I think it is. It's cheesy. You're not allowed to take pictures. I don't have any pictures, but it's a traditional kind of theater with water puppets, and they kind of talk about political current events because they're not allowed to speak out in public. So this is kind of their way, kind of like we do in movies. We talk about current events, not to offend anybody, via theater. The nightlife is pretty good. I mean, compared to any other Western big city, it's nothing. But it's all about the people you're with, and you end up meeting a lot of people, and everybody wants to kind of talk to you, and you become their best friend. So it's a lot of fun just at night. It's not like clubbing, but it's super fun and interesting. And again, you make your own fun. The big excursion that you do outside of Hanoi is Halong Bay. It's a 3-hour drive. I do suggest it. It's pretty amazing. It's weather dependent, so it's hit or miss. I took the float plane, but frankly, it's a 3-hour drive to get there, so you kind of think, oh, that's a long drive, do I really want to go? And I just went for the day. Some people spend the night in one of these kind of wooden junks, which are outfitted and nice, but I opted not to, and I'm glad I did. It's weather dependent, so you don't really know until the morning whether the float plane can go. So you paid your $600 something, and you don't even know if you're going to go. And so if the weather is bad, you have to drive. It kind of messes up the day because it takes 3 hours. The float plane only takes less than an hour. So that's kind of a bummer. So I would suggest in the morning you just drive there. You know what time you're going to get there, and there's no surprises or stress. And then, if you can take the float plane coming back, you get a lot of good pictures. It's fun, but it really doesn't save that much time because the float plane comes back to the main airport, which is like an hour or more from town. So by the time you get on the plane, you do the security, you go the hour flight, you get to the airport in Hanoi, then you drive back to your town an hour. Maybe you save like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So it's a fun experience, but if you think you're going to save any time or stress, you're certainly not. One of the things that we rented this wooden junk for the day, just the two of us, but it probably could have held, 50 people. And it was fun just to kind of cruise around. It's like Dr. No, James Bond, and these really limestone kind of pillar type islands. Another kind of cove that you can only go through, like this tiny, 20-foot hole, no ship can go through it. It's like King Kong Island. It really reminds you of that. Once you come in, or the beach, in the book. And when you come in, it's like this protected cave. I'm sure pirates used it, not cave, but bay. You can only get in through this cave. And once you come in, it's this huge paradise, beaches, and it's just amazing. So we did that. And then another surprise, which I didn't even know we were going to do, was these caves. So there's this tiny entrance, and you don't even know what you're going to see. You go in this entrance, and there's this huge network of caves that are like stalactites and stalagmites. And it was just a surprise to me. I'd highly recommend it. It was pretty, awesome. So after Hanoi, we went to Hoi An, which is kind of near China Beach in the middle of the city. Four Seasons just took over a resort there, and they have a resort called the Four Seasons Hoi An. I think the best time to go there is just after May, and the beach weather is up. Before that, it can rain and be a little overcast, but it's still good. You should definitely check the weather because it rains in Vietnam a lot. Expect some rain. I mean, it's Southeast Asia, a tropical place, right? And the Four Seasons does a really good job. They have one night where they do kind of this street food night with entertainment, and it's pretty fun. The food's good, but it's in a hotel, so it's as authentic as it can be. I think one of the highlights was they have this cooking school where you have your own stations and you make your Vietnamese food, which I love. And So that was fun. It really wasn't beach weather for us, but they've got great pools. We went on a bike ride through rice paddies, which was really fun. Stopped to talk to locals and pictures. Just good. I lost my key that day, I remember. And the butler had to go out and look for it. He actually found it. So again, night is when everybody comes out. So the Four Seasons is not walking distance to town, so you take their shuttle into town and walk around a little bit, and then I would suggest going out to dinner. I went to this kind of, I don't know, trendy place called Miss Lee's. It's a hole-in-the-wall kind of place, and I know it was a little salty, but you know what, it was good. The food is pretty good. I think it's hit or miss if you go to these kind of small places. Some of the more established places are good, but you know, you can get it anywhere. But the nightlife is really fun. Everyone's out, they're lighting lanterns and sending them off into the water. And the food is pretty good too. So you just kind of go around shopping and all night, and then you either call a cab or the Four Seasons has a set up shuttle time where they come and pick you up and bring you back to the hotel. So that was fun. Then we went to Ho Chi Minh City, or Saigon, which was under, you know, U.S. influence, and you can really tell, right? There's tons of, you know, and other stuff. But you know what? It's still, you know, communist now, and you know, the infrastructure and stuff is still, you know, coming up. I'm just gonna say that. But like the hospitals are bad, the water's bad, the food they use chemicals. You kind of have to ask and be careful when they grow it. I mean, like the guy was telling me, like a tomato plant grows in like a day, not really, but. So I went again out looking for interesting art and ceramics and galleries, and I found, you know, some cool stuff, and I put some of it here. But again, if you email me, I can definitely give you some ideas on that. So the big excursion that we did out of Ho Chi Minh was go to the Cu Chi tunnels, which are like hundreds of miles of tunnels that the Viet Cong used to kind of evade American bombing and travel underground so they wouldn't get attacked. And they didn't just use them against the Americans, they had these against the French as well, so they were building them, you know, 20 to 30 years before we got there. But it was really interesting, and you really get a feel for what it must have been like, because they kept it pretty authentic with bomb craters and weapons and unexploded bombs and stuff like that. So it's super cool for the guys. I actually went down into the tunnel. The guy goes, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go." And so he said, "It's dark," but I went. You know, it was dark. You can't see that much, and, you know, you just imagine people living down there for, you know, 16 hours or even longer days. They had everything, cities under there, you know, barracks, hospitals, mess halls, map rooms, factories, you know, everything. So it was super interesting, and
it's really good.
Definitely glad. Another tip that we did is, I didn't go by road, I actually took a speedboat there. And we actually got there before all the tour buses, so that's why there aren't very many people in my pictures. And then when I was leaving, the tour buses were pulling in, I was getting on a boat, and I was so happy that the guide had suggested that, so we were able to kind of have the place to ourselves. Because I guess the buses are only allowed to come in at a certain time, so that was a good little tip. There's a couple of different ones, and so because the tunnels go for hundreds of miles, I went to one that I can't remember the exact name, but it's a little bit farther out than the closer ones. It's worth it because, again, the tourists tend to do things that are a little bit easier, and so they would go with the closer one. And they're not that much farther. Maybe it's another 15 minutes or something. It's worth it because less people, and it seemed a little bit more authentic. So, it's a little scary down there. I saw some bats and some other things down there. But just really got to feel and appreciate, again, I keep saying, when you travel, you really appreciate what you have here. Remember, this isn't that long ago. This was happening when I was a teenager. So that was the Creature Channels. They make sandals out of American tires. That's still this guy's job today. I mean, he makes like $1 a day. So again, just wanted to just give some context here how lucky we are. And one of the highlights of the trip, and it's how I traveled from Vietnam to Cambodia, was the Aqua Mekong. What a fabulous ship. It's actually a river cruise ship. It's like almost like a barge. It doesn't move fast. But it's like a floating hotel and sports platform. Ship docks and state-of-the-art bikes or boats or paddle boats or whatever they've got. It's all brand new and just state-of-the-art. The advantage here is you get to go to places that you wouldn't necessarily get to go because there's no infrastructure, like there's no hotels or roads or places to go. A lot of, they depend on the river for everything, and life hasn't changed here probably in 100 years or not much. They still live a rice culture. It's a very simple life. The people are very poor, but they seem very happy, and I'll talk about that more in other videos about different kind of definitions of happiness and success. Again, we're very fortunate, but the ship is outfitted with everything you can possibly imagine, and on board the accommodations are super luxurious. These are pictures of the kind of double room. It's a family room. It has a suite, so you have a living room where you can switch it if you have a family to put some kids in different beds. We watched the Eagles play the Patriots in that room, that screening room. I don't know how many staff I had to hound to get that internet set up, but we got it going. That's the only day I didn't go out on the tour, was to watch the Super Bowl. But I mean, just life on the river is amazing. I actually thought Cambodia was really amazing. I like both countries, but Cambodia was really more authentic in my opinion because it was less kind of spoiled by Western influence. And so when we do the next segment, part 2 of Vietnam and Cambodia, I wanted to talk about the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot and Angkor Wat. There's a lot there, and I just said to myself, this is not going to happen in one episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. I spent a fair amount of time trying to get this right. I'm sorry. It's still a little raw. It's my first edited video. But you can expect that a lot of the travel teleporter series are going to look like this and better moving forward. So I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. And I forgot to introduce the music. I picked a French group, Les Nubians, for the first 3 songs, and the last song was a bonus song called Back by Chance. I think it's actually called All We Got, but I'm using We Back because I'm back. And we got experts and we got content. Alright, thanks a lot for tuning in. Again, if you have any questions and want to reach out to me, feel free. I really have been encouraged by all of the outpouring, so thanks a lot for all the emails and texts. And I'm looking forward to doing the part 2 of this series, Cambodia. I think I'm going to get these out every Sunday. So again, thanks for watching. Have a great Sunday and a great week. Stay healthy and be kind. Thanks. It's Clutch from Off-Grid Ojai. Out. At the end of the day, music is all we got. You gotta lead them out. There's people in the car listening to the radio feeling helpless. You gotta play